Discover the incredible moment. A fugitive's heartwarming proposal inside a bridal boutique. Jake, a 28-year-old mechanic, stood at the doorway of the little bridal boutique nestled in the heart of his modest Midwestern town. The atmosphere buzzed with a magical energy, glistening tulle, satin, and dreams shimmering like stars on a clear night. Yet for Jake it wasn't just a store. It was the place where his heart raced with hope and fear. He could feel the weight of his past pressing against his chest, memories swirling like ghosts around him. As he envisioned the love of his life, Emily, he clenched his fists, ready to take the leap. Their lives hadn't been easy. Jake's childhood scratched him raw, leaving scars that whispered of inadequacy. Emily, his childhood sweetheart, deserved more than he felt he could ever offer. She often spun fantasies of a dream wedding, a fairy tale moment, tugging at his heart even as the stark reality of their finances loomed larger than life. The laughter and love exchanged between them turned to worry and tension as a councilman's cruel mockery of couples like them stung sharply, a bitter reminder of how society deemed their dreams as ridiculous. But that insult lit a fire inside Jake. He envisioned the magical moment where he proposed to Emily right in the boutique, under lights that danced like the future he craved for them. As he set his heart on this mission, the mundane worries began to dissolve. However, the closer he got to the day he'd ask for her hand, the more shadows of his past crept back in, always lurking, always waiting. Just days before his proposal, an old acquaintance walked through those same doors, an embodiment of his past mistakes. Tension swung thick in the air between them, like a tightly drawn bowstring. The fool's smile on the old friend's face made Jake's chest tighten. "Look who's reaching for something he doesn't deserve," the man sneered, making Jake feel small in a space that was meant for dreams. Memories of shame and regret threatened to unravel all he had been building. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The community began to notice the struggle etched across Jake's face. Friends and neighbors, inspired by his determination, poured in with support, offering encouragement and ideas. Each little act of kindness built a bridge out of the abyss he feared. Suddenly, Jake didn't just feel the pressure. He felt a current of hope swelling around him. The bridal boutique became a place filled with shimmering dreams and whispered wishes. As Jake finally prepared for the moment that meant everything, the energy shifted. He wasn't just a mechanic, wrestling with his past. He was on the brink of a life-changing moment, ready to confront not only his fears but the very definition of true love. And just as he knelt down, ring in hand, heart pounding like a drum, the boutique door swung wide open. There, illuminated by the afternoon light, stood the figure from his past, with a revelation that could shatter his carefully woven dreams. The room froze as the weight of silence wrapped around Jake like a thick fog, leaving him gasping for breath and wondering if this moment would slip away just as quickly as it had arrived. Jake's heart raced as he looked up at the figure standing in the doorway. It was Mike, an old friend whose presence unleashed a torrent of suppressed memories. Mike's smile had the same carefree flair that had put Jake's life on a roller coaster years ago, a time when bad choices had cost him dearly. "Hey man. Long time no see." Mike's tone was almost too chipper. Jake's stomach twisted. "Yeah, it's been a while," Jake replied, struggling to keep his voice steady. Emily, waiting just outside of Jake's line of vision, must have sensed the abrupt shift in the atmosphere. Hesitantly, she stepped forward, her radiant smile morphing into confusion. Jake could almost hear her thoughts echo. What was he doing here? What did he want? "What are you doing here, Mike?" Jake asked, trying to sound unfazed, but the quiver in his voice betrayed his uncertainty. "Oh, just visiting some familiar faces. I heard this place is the go-to spot for wedding stuff." He flashed a teasing smile. "You here for an early wedding or what?" A punch of dread clenched around Jake's heart. This wasn't just a casual encounter. It felt like a storm brewing. Would this encounter derail everything he'd worked toward? "Actually," Jake said, stealing a glance in Emily's direction, I was just about to ask Emily a question that could change everything for us. Mike raised an eyebrow, a flicker of amusement dancing in his eyes. Is that right? Emily stepped closer to Jake, her curiosity piqued. Jake? What's going on? Jake took a breath and refocused, squaring his shoulders. It's okay, just might need a minute. Mike stayed rooted where he was, his presence casting a shadow. The vibrant, inviting space of the boutique felt constricting under the weight of Jake's recollections, the drinking, the late nights, and the reckless abandon that once shaped his life. Here he was, about to propose to the woman of his dreams, with the ghost of yesterday looming large. You still think you deserve this? Mike's challenge felt like a bee sting, sharp and irritating. Enough. Jake's voice rose, surprising even himself. This is not about you, Mike. This is about love. About Emily. The words hung in the air, laden with unspoken challenges. Emily's fingers tightened around Jake's arm. He could feel both her encouragement and concern. What if Mike did something to ruin this? Look, man, I just wanted to check in. But if you think you can just sweep all this under the rug and play house, you're wrong, he sneered. Jake's hands clenched around the velvet box. This was it. He could either let his past dictate his present or carve out a future worth fighting for. The air was heavy with expectation. He glanced at Emily, whose eyes sparkled with trust, urging him forward. In that moment, Jake saw it clear. The love they shared was worth all the trials, all the struggles he faced, and he was done letting anyone, even the shadows of his past, dictate his worth. Without breaking eye contact with Mike, Jake dropped to one knee, the world fading behind him. He focused solely on Emily, her surprised expression igniting a light in his chest. Emily, will you marry me? Time slowed as he awaited her answer, every heartbeat pounding against the silence that still enveloped them. Just a fraction of a second felt like a lifetime, and then a gasp escaped Emily's lips, and her eyes widened, teetering between disbelief and joy. But before she could respond, Mike stepped forward, a smirk breaking through his earlier composure. You really think she'd say yes to you? Jake's heart plummeted. Did Mike really believe he could still shatter this moment? The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of Emily's nervous laughter. Actually, Jake, this is the moment I've been waiting for. Just as she opened her mouth, the air grew electric, and the boutique door swung open again, this time revealing someone who could turn everything upside down. Jake, I need to talk to you. Jake's heart sank as he recognized the unexpected newcomer. The pieces of his dreams threatened to unravel all over again. What did they want now? What was this new twist going to take from him? Jake's breath caught in his throat as he turned to see the newcomer. It was Sarah, the girl he'd loved back in college, the girl with laughter so bright it could fill the darkest days. Her eyes, wide and pleading, locked onto his, and time seemed to stretch between them, filled with unspoken words and memories. Sarah? What are you doing here? Jake managed to ask, his voice shaky, a mixture of surprise and unease flooding through him. I know this is a bad time. Her voice trembled, and the desperation on her face made Jake's heart ache. But I need to talk to you. It's important. Emily's hand slipped from Jake's arm, and he felt her hurt, the shifting energy between them palpable. She looked from Jake to Sarah, her brows knitted in confusion and concern. This was supposed to be a moment of joy, a celebration of love and commitment, but now their dreams felt precarious, as if they could shatter at any moment. What do you need to talk about, Sarah? Jake pressed, trying to maintain control over the rapidly spiraling situation. Every part of him wanted to shelter Emily from this storm, while another part was frozen, stuck in memories he thought he had moved past. I just found out some things. About that time we were together, Sarah continued, her voice breaking. Things I never had the chance to explain properly. Jake's mind raced. He hadn't thought much about Sarah since the days of carefree college romance. They had been young, exploring life and love together, until the complexity of reality led them down separate paths. Those days felt like a distant memory, yet Sarah's presence brought them rushing back like a tidal wave. Mike, still leaning casually against the doorframe, added an edge of cynicism to the air. Is this a reunion I didn't sign up for? You really had to drop this bomb now, huh? Shut up, Mike. Jake snapped, his patience edging thin. He turned back to Sarah, feeling the weight of Emily's gaze on him, supportive yet questioning. What's going on? I had a few things I wanted to say back then. I thought we were fine, but I didn't realize how much my choices affected you and, get to the point. Jake interrupted, anxiety creeping in, clenching his fists. Each second stretched painfully, Emily's expression heavy with uncertainty. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm sorry, Sarah finally burst out, tears welling in her eyes. I was selfish. I took a path that was only about me, and I hurt you while doing it. I didn't think about the consequences enough. But Jake, it wasn't because I didn't care. I just didn't know how to be the person you needed me to be. As her words hung in the air, Jake felt a mixture of sympathy and chaos swirling within him. This was not how he envisioned this moment, the proposal, the hope, the love. Emily, still standing a few steps away, looked from him to Sarah, confusion evident on her face. Jake? What is happening? I don't know, Jake stammered, his heart pounding. He felt torn, as if his past was reaching out like tendrils to grip him and pull him backward. The spark of what could have been with Sarah battled with his new, beautiful reality alongside Emily. Every part of him wanted to shout that he had moved on, that he was happy. And yet, there was unease, a small fragile thread of unresolved feelings that gnawed itself in his stomach. Jake, please just give me a moment, Sarah urged, stepping forward, her voice laced with urgency. But before he could respond, the atmosphere shifted again. It was as if the universe was conspiring to complicate everything. From down the aisle of the boutique, a group of strangers turned their heads, drawn by this escalating drama. What's going on? One of the onlookers whispered, and Jake felt the weight of the world press down harder on his shoulders. He looked at Emily, then back at Sarah, whose tears glistened like silent pleas for understanding. In that moment, Jake felt the chasm between his past and his future widen impossibly. Jake, you need to make a choice, Mike called out, his voice laced with a dangerous mockery. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the constriction around his heart. At that moment he realized, this wasn't just a proposal. This was a reckoning, and he was standing at the crossroad of his life. As those words echoed in his mind, Jake's thoughts raced. What would he choose? Before he could figure it out, a sudden noise made everyone turn sharply. A loud crash from the back of the boutique sent them all reeling. The wedding plans, the past, and now this unforeseen chaos threatened to engulf him completely. What would happen next in this whirlwind of emotions? What more was waiting around the corner? The crash echoed through the boutique like a gunshot, stealing the breath from Jake's lungs. Instinctively, he turned to see what had caused the commotion. A metal display rack teetered with a cascade of gowns, brilliant fabric spilling onto the floor like fallen stars. The onlookers gasped, a collective intake of confusion and concern. Is everyone okay? A voice called from the back. It was the store manager, rushing in with a determined stride, her expression a mix of panic and professional calm. Jake's heart raced, but his focus remained torn between Sarah and Emily. The way Emily's face paled made his chest tighten. He could almost see the wheels turning in her mind, wrestling with doubt and fear. Who did she think he was now? The man standing at the edge of everything, poised to make a choice that could reshape their lives. Jake? Emily's voice was almost a whisper. It cut through the chaos, pulling him back to her. He blinked as if waking from a dream where both paths lay open, waiting for him to choose. But both Sarah and the memories of their past, and the profound love he felt for Emily, clouded his judgment. Let us talk about this later, he said to Sarah, the urgency in her eyes hitting him hard. Yet he felt the pull of Emily, vulnerable and uncertain, behind him. He reached for her hand, squeezing it lightly, and felt her warmth seep through his skin. I'm here. Jake. Sarah's voice wavered, desperation laced with fear. You can't just walk away. You deserve to know everything. I have to think about Emily, he mumbled, eyes darting back to her. Emily was silencing the storm within, her gaze pleading but strong. Could he shatter that strength with thoughts of someone who had become a fragment of a happy memory? The crowd began to murmur, some exchanging glances while others leaned in, eager for the unfolding drama. They were silent witnesses to the most intimate moment of his life. The emotional weight pressed heavily on him, making his heart feel like it was encased in ice. Jake, Sarah insisted again, crossing the gap between them, her hand reaching out, trembling. I need you to understand I didn't come to ruin things. I came to tell you that I have changed. I wanted a second chance. That's why I came here. Jake flinched at the word chance. Wasn't that all he had ever wanted too? When had life become this tangled mess of choices, each leading to places he never intended to go? Would you really want that? Would you change everything just to revisit a ghost from the past? Jake shot back, his frustration bubbling over. He was losing control, the very thing he had fought to maintain. Emily stepped forward, opening her lips, but the uncertainty painted all over her face tightened Jake's throat. Let us just breathe for a second. I think we're all a bit overwhelmed, she said softly, her voice a soothing balm amidst the storm. The room seemed to pause with her words. For a moment, the weight of the chaos slipped away, and all Jake could feel was Emily standing strong beside him. This was love, raw, beautiful, and terrifying all at once. But the fabric of the moment twisted again. The boutique door flew open, and a young woman burst inside, her cheeks flushed. I'm sorry I'm late, she exclaimed. But I have to find my sister. She was supposed to be Kayla, Sarah shouted, panic rising in her voice, the fear of her own past intertwining with their present. You shouldn't be here. More chaos erupted as onlookers shifted, and whispers danced through the air. The pieces of his world felt like they were tumbling into disarray. Jake turned and locked eyes with Emily. In that fleeting moment he glimpsed an invitation and offered to step into the unknown together. But was he ready to take that leap? What lay on the other side of this crossroads? With a deep breath he knew he had to decide. The echo of unresolved feelings tugged at him, but the reality of Emily, standing there, hoping for his answer, anchored him. Jake, Sarah was desperate. Don't turn your back on me. His heart raced faster than before. The warmth of love fought desperately against the chill of old wounds. Suddenly the stakes felt higher than ever. How would he choose? And more importantly, what would happen next when the real truth began to unravel? The unexpected arrival of Kayla turned the boutique into a whirlwind of confusion. Jake could barely process the intensity in Sarah's eyes as they flared with a mix of fear and anger. Emily stood beside him, her hand still warm in his, grounding him amidst the chaos. The crowd felt electric, every whispered question and stolen glance amplifying the tension. Kayla, what are you doing here? Sarah's voice quivered, panic tinged with desperation. It was a plea that seemed to echo against the backdrop of shimmering dresses and startled shoppers. I could ask you the same thing. I came to find you. Kayla's voice broke, revealing her vulnerability as she pushed through the gathering crowd. Her eyes darted between her sister's frantic expression and Jake, who felt the weight of their shared history crash down on him. Everything's fine, Kayla, Sarah insisted, her voice more defensive than reassuring. The way she spoke was almost too protective, as if shielding her sister from a danger she couldn't fully explain. Jake felt himself caught in a storm of emotions. Behind him, Emily remained steady, watching, testing the waters, perhaps while he grappled with the haunting ghosts of his past, mixed with the luminous present. Clearly it's not fine. Kayla snapped back, her face flushed. You were supposed to be with me. I was worried sick. There are some things you don't understand, Sarah replied firmly, her resolve unshaken but her heart exposed. Jake could see her wall beginning to crack, the desperation pouring out as she turned to look at him. Jake, please. I came to tell you the truth. We need to talk. Before he could respond, the crowd shifted again. Murmurs turned into hushed conversations, and Jake realized he was standing at the center of an audience. The stakes felt monumental, the pressures of love, loyalty, and betrayal spiraling like a cyclone around him. What truth? He finally managed, his brow furrowing in confusion. What exactly is going on, Sarah? I found out that the reason we broke up it wasn't just me, she admitted, words tumbling out like loose coins spilling from a pocket. There was something else. Something I was too ashamed to share. His heart raced at her admission. For years he thought he'd been the one who drove them apart. Now here it all was unraveling before him. But as he looked at Emily, the look in her eyes was a reminder of what he could lose. No, Kayla gasped, shaking her head in disbelief. You didn't, Sarah. You promised me this wouldn't happen. You can't drag him back into this. The room seemed to pulse with tension, each breath drawing tighter and heavier. Jake felt as if time had stopped for a heartbeat, while Sarah's expression shifted from determination to regret. I was young and afraid, And I ended things without giving you the whole story, Sarah continued, her tone brokering vulnerability. But I've changed, Jake. I'm not the girl I was back then. As the weathered emotions of their shared past loomed, an image flickered through Jake's mind. A memory of laughter echoed against the blossoming shadows of their lost years. His gaze flickered back to Emily. And what about her? He asked, his voice softer. What about us? Us? Emily repeated, her eyes glistening as if holding back a tide of tears. Jake, I want to be honest with you. I want to fight for this even if it means facing the truth head-on, no matter how messy it gets. He swallowed hard, torn between the paths laid out before him, one leading back to a flickering hope blinded by history, the other forward into a shimmering mystery with a woman he loved deeply. Just then, the boutique door swung open once more, this time with a slow, deliberate creak. An older woman stepped inside, her gaze surveying the room as she held her purse tightly before her, the clanking of its contents echoing like a countdown to the next revelation. Jake's heart raced. What could she possibly want? And how would her presence shift the fabric of this already tense moment? He knew in that instant that the truth was imminent, explosive even. It felt as if the very ground beneath him was trembling in anticipation of what was to come next. Would the past come back to haunt him, or would it finally set him free? The answer loomed ahead, shrouded in uncertainty. The weight of decisions folded over him, heavy as lead. With breaths caught and hearts on the line, he realized the time for choices had arrived. But what truth would unravel next? The room fell silent as the older woman lingered at the entrance, her presence commanding attention. Everyone turned toward her, eyes wide with curiosity. Jake could sense the crowd's collective breath hitch. Who was she? Why had she entered at such a pivotal moment? Excuse me, may I speak? The woman's voice was steady, yet there was a hint of urgency that broke through the tense atmosphere. Her hand shook slightly as she adjusted her glasses, but her gaze never wavered. Mom? Kayla's voice broke the silence, disbelief etched across her face. It was as if the ground had shifted beneath them, and a deep-rooted concern added another layer of complexity to the unfolding drama. Jake felt the air crackle with emotion. Everyone was waiting, and so was he. Sarah's face turned ashen. What are you doing here? She whispered, half a plea and half an accusation. Kayla, you deserve to know the truth, the woman said, tears shimmering in her eyes. About your father, about why I kept things from you. I hoped I could protect you. The words hung in the air like a heavy fog, pressing down on Jake and the others. Kayla's expression shifted from disbelief to a swirl of fear and disappointment. Protect us? By lying? I thought it was for the best, the woman responded, her voice breaking. But secrets have a way of surfacing. I should have trusted you both with the truth long ago. Jake could see Sarah's walls falter further. The fraught silence that followed was palpable. The crowd shifted restlessly, but he was rooted to the spot, caught in the gravitational pull of this confrontation. The past loomed larger now, threatening to swallow them whole. Mom, you didn't have to. Kayla's voice wavered, caught between anger and the yearning for understanding. This isn't just about what you kept from us. It's about who we are, who we could have been as a family. As the room echoed her words, Jake turned to Sarah. Something flickered in her eyes, a shared vulnerability, an understanding of grief and the burdens of the past. Time felt infinite, suspended in that moment, their histories intertwining within the bounds of choice and revelation. I understand now, Sarah began, her voice cracking just like the facade they both tried to maintain. We all have our reasons, our fears. But maybe facing those fears is how we can finally begin anew. Emily squeezed Jake's hand tighter. He could sense her tension, her hope that he would choose to move forward, to embrace a future that felt uncertain yet alive with possibilities. But another dark shadow loomed, his own fears wrapped around any decision he might make. He thought of the warmth Emily brought into his life, the laughter they shared, the connection they built. Yet here was Sarah, with an apology dangling in the air like a promise half fulfilled. Why come back now? He finally asked the woman, his heart pounding. What has changed? She took a trembling breath and looked directly into his eyes. Because you all deserve to know who you are. I've tried to hold everything together while everything fell apart, and that was my mistake just then. The bell above the boutique door tinkled once more. Another figure stepped inside, a man, his face etched with the same urgency as the older woman. I'm sorry I'm late, he called out, panic lacing his tone. I was looking for you, honey. Jake felt the tension spike again. Who was he? What did he have to do with all of this? As the man stepped closer, Jake could see the recognition dawn on Sarah's face. The truth he had feared was about to unfold before them all. Each revelation brought them closer to a precipice. How would they all choose to step forward from this moment? And suddenly the boutique became a stage, one where secrets were about to shatter and hearts would either orchestrate a reunion or drift apart into chaos. Could they all bear the weight of the truth? What would it mean for each of them if the past turned out to be more intertwined than any of them anticipated? The man took a few hesitant steps into the boutique, his eyes darting around as he searched for the source of tension that blanketed the room. When he caught sight of the older woman, his expression shifted from panic to concern, as if he recognized the gravity of the situation at once. Mom, what's going on? He asked, his voice steady but soft as he reached her side. The air felt charged between them, a connection forged through years apart, now straining against the weight of unfinished business. Daniel, the older woman said, her voice cracking as she stepped forward. You're finally here. We need to talk. Kayla's astonishment morphed into confusion, contrasting sharply with the intensity of Daniel's silence. Jake watched as the pieces started to come together, the threads of their shared past weaving strangely around each of them. Mom, I thought. Daniel trailed off, clearly caught off guard. He looked at Kayla and then at Sarah. What about Dad? I heard something, directing her gaze firmly back at her son. The woman inhaled deeply. I didn't want to bring it up, but we can't keep running from the truth any longer. There is so much you both don't know. A collective gasp filled the room as the intensity heightened. Each person present teetered on the brink of this emotional abyss, the secrets wrapped in their hearts like tightly bound ribbons, threatening to unravel at any moment. I can't believe you're here, Kayla said, her tone now a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. Was this part of your grand plan all along? Daniel's brows knitted together in a frown. I didn't know. Why didn't you tell me? His frustration was palpable, and Jake felt for him. This was too much to handle in a single moment. Sarah stepped forward, her voice low but firm. It wasn't easy for any of us. But now we have a chance to confront the past together. Isn't that what matters? No, Kayla interrupted, her anger boiling over. What matters is why you waited so long. You both acted like there was nothing to discuss, and that we could just pretend life was normal. The older woman turned as if to argue but found herself hesitating. Sometimes secrets feel easier to carry than the truth. I thought I was protecting you, protecting everyone. Jake felt a pang of empathy. He understood the instinct, but now, standing amidst all this raw emotion, he couldn't help but wonder where best intentions led them. Protection or deception? Protecting us from what? Daniel asked, his voice rising with every syllable. Our father? Why did you both work so hard to keep us away from him? Did you think we wouldn't want to know him? At that, a heavy silence fell anew. Everyone seemed to hold their breath, waiting for the inevitable explosion that might follow. The older woman, however, pressed her lips together as tears glistened in her eyes. Because Daniel, your father is not who you think he is. A murmur overcame the group, spreading like wildfire. The air felt like it was dilating with unspoken words that hung curiously between them, memories tangled with hopes and visions of who they were. As she continued, her resolve strengthened, the narrative unfurling with each revelation. He made choices, bad choices that put your lives at risk. I tried to shield you both from that darkness. Jake's heart raced. He glanced at Emily, hoping she could see the questions dancing in his eyes, wondering what secrets lay beneath the surface of their own pasts. Maybe we can all find a way to move forward, Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. But that hope felt tenuous, caught in the web of uncertainty and regret. Daniel's expression hardened, and with a deep sigh he caught Kayla's eye. Then it's time we face the truth together. Whatever it is. Kayla nodded slowly, a somber acceptance settling on her features while a new determination sparked within her. The room pulsed quietly with the urgency of their unfolding fate. Would they become emboldened by the truth, or would they allow it to tear them apart? Then, in a moment of clarity, Jake spoke up, surprising even himself. What if instead of focusing on the past, we tried to discover what it means to be a family now? What if the future is still ours to write? Lifting her gaze, Sarah met Jake's eyes and found strength there. Yes, she whispered. It's not too late. But before they could explore what this would mean, the bell rang again, and the door swung open, letting in another wind of uncertainty. Who would they find next? What new truth was waiting just beyond that threshold? The door swung open, bringing a rush of cool air with it. In walked a young woman, barely out of her teens, with tousled hair and a nervous smile that faded as she took in the scene before her. Jake felt the tension shift slightly. This new arrival wasn't he prepared for the emotional weight in the room. Sorry. She stammered, her eyes flitting between the group, unsure where to place herself. I just wanted to look around. Kayla's annoyance flared briefly, but something in the girl's wide-eyed apprehension softened her anger. It's okay, she said, though her tone was still shaky. But maybe you should come back later. The girl hesitated, then lifted a small bouquet bursting with wildflowers, the colors bright against the muted backdrop of the boutique. I'm just looking for some flowers for my friend's wedding, she said shyly. I thought maybe this place would have something special. Weddings? Interesting timing, don't you think? Sarah said, the corners of her mouth twitching into a smile at the irony. We're knee-deep in some heavy family stuff over here. The girl blinked, momentarily bewildered by the mix of tension and warmth. But then her curiosity got the better of her. Family stuff? Jake could see that the girl wasn't just a bystander. She was a catalyst waiting to lighten the mood and maybe even unleash more chaos. In the midst of the fragile tension, Daniel finally broke. It's complicated, he said, exhaling sharply. And I can't even start to explain. Just sit for a sec, Kayla interrupted. Let her hear what's going on. Forcing a smile, the girl stepped deeper into the shop, intrigued. You can trust me, I promise. My name's Lila, she said, glancing at each person in the room, seeking permission. As they all took a collective breath, Sarah shared the barest outline of their situation, recounting the family secrets and the shadows their father cast over their lives. The more she shared, the easier it seemed to breathe, as if the act of speaking transformed the burden into a story that could be rewritten. When she finished, Lila nodded slowly. Wow, that's a lot to unpack. I can't imagine. Jake observed the shift around him. Hope flickered between the words shared, glimmers of connection brightening the air. Lila's arrival didn't just break the tension. It also reminded them of the outside world, one filled with love and celebration, even amidst heartache. What about you? Kayla asked, curiosity igniting. What's your story? Wedding plans and all that? Lila's face lit up a bit as she spoke. Actually, I'm just trying to make things special for my best friend JC. She's marrying her high school sweetheart. And their love story is the kind that makes you believe in happy endings. Something in her tone resonated. In an instant, Jake felt the power of a shared dream, the hope that no matter how tangled their own lives became, love could still bloom and grow. Love stories are pretty powerful, he said softly, finding solace in the girl's enthusiasm. The conversation picked up momentum, stories flowing like water, old hurts resettling into laughter and nostalgia. Just as they began to lose themselves in a more hopeful direction, Lila's expression changed, her gaze flicking back toward the door. Oh, looks like someone else is here, she said, her tone shifting slightly. Curiosity turned to apprehension as another figure appeared in the doorway, the silhouette sharp against the light. The familiar shape sent a ripple of unease through Daniel, who he began to ask, but before he could finish, the figure stepped forward, revealing a face that made everyone freeze. A moment hung in the air, palpable as a heartbeat. The familiar feature sparked memories in Daniel's mind, the very essence of a man he had spent too long trying to forget. Hey Daniel. Hey everyone, the newcomer said casually, as if they hadn't just reopened old wounds. Looks like the family reunion is off to a wild start. Shocked gasps echoed around the room, hearts pounding in unison. Who was this unexpected visitor? And what truths would they bring to the fragile gathering that teetered on the edge between healing and chaos? The door creaked slightly on its hinges as everyone held their breath, the air thick with anticipation and disbelief. Daniel's heart raced in his chest as the unmistakable face of his estranged brother, Mark, occupied his thoughts like an unwelcome echo. He hadn't seen him in years, hadn't wanted to, yet here he was, casually intruding on a moment they had fought hard to reclaim. Mark, Daniel breathed, his voice low. It felt like a sliver of ice sliding down his spine, cold and sharp. He did not expect to feel this way. A mix of anger and confusion battling for dominance within him. Surprised? Mark smirked, crossing the threshold into the chaos of the boutique. His confidence was palpable, yet in the depths of his eyes, Daniel noticed something. It was a flicker of uncertainty, perhaps regrets too tangled to voice. Yeah, you could say that, Kayla replied, crossing her arms defensively. What are you doing here? God, you all still can't let anything go, can you? Mark's voice dripped with disdain, but those who knew him recognized it as a defense mechanism. This isn't about that. I just came to check in on the family unannounced, obviously. Unannounced? You mean absent for years and then deciding to waltz back in like nothing ever happened? Daniel said, raising his voice emotion thick. Do you know what we've been through? Lila, who had been standing quietly, glanced between the brothers. The atmosphere had thickened again, turning what's been a tentative moment of connection into a battlefield. She hugged her flowers a bit tighter, as if they bore not only their own fragility but all the weight of the room's tension. Everyone calm down, Sarah interjected, stepping in, her hand raised in a placating motion. Let us not start a war here. We're all. Mark shrugged. Look, I'm not here to cause trouble. I came to say to apologize or whatever. His words hung awkwardly, throwing everyone into a mixture of disbelief and surprise. Silence fell like a thick blanket, muffling the sounds of the boutique, leaving only the pulse of racing hearts. Daniel's breathing grew shallow. An apology from Mark? What did that even mean? Was it even genuine? I don't know what you expect from us, Daniel finally replied, each word struggling to escape his throat. Do you think this? He gestured around the boutique, the intimacy of the moment still alive in the air, would just make everything better? Mark's expression shifted. I'm just hoping for something different this time. The truth is, I've missed you guys. Missed us? You've had plenty of opportunities to reconnect. Kayla's voice cracked like a whip, laced with hurt. You chose to be gone. Perhaps there was a flicker of shame in Mark's eyes. I regret that. I was scared. I thought. His voice trailed off, vulnerability peeping through the bravado he had worn like armor. As the seconds passed, the tension began to morph. It was no longer just about Mark's return, but the emotion simmering underneath all the years of absence. Daniel felt the anger in him start to blend with confusion, and maybe, just maybe, a longing for the brother he once knew, the one who would crack jokes during family movie nights. Maybe we owe it to each other to talk this out, Jake finally suggested, his voice steady. He was a calm presence amidst the brewing storm. But this time we do it without running away. Mark nodded slowly, a tentative alliance forming in the fragile air. Lila watched this unraveling drama, her mind racing as she realized she had just stepped into a family storm that had brewed for too long. Okay, but first, she interjected, a spark of optimism bubbling through the weight. Can we at least get some flowers for my friend first? The slight chuckle that escaped the group eased some of the tension, like a breath of fresh air amid the heated confrontation. Daniel felt an ember of hope flicker, not yet bright, but enough to illuminate a path forward. But as they strived to gather their thoughts and emotions, Lila's phone buzzed, breaking the moment. She glanced at the screen, her face turning pale. Oh no, it's JC, she exclaimed, panic toned in her voice. We have a problem. The figure of joy turned to dread in an instant, pulling everyone back from the brink of reconciliation. Daniel's heart raced again. What now? What more could possibly complicate this evening? The air crackled with tension once more, and determination ignited within him. It was time to face everything head-on, whatever came next. Jake could feel the air thicken around him as Lila's panic swept through the boutique like a sudden storm. The swirling emotions of the past clung tightly to him, each thread pulling him in different directions. Lila, what's wrong? He asked, urgency tinged with concern as he stepped closer. It's JC, she stammered, glancing at her phone again, visibly shaken. She's not answering. I should have gone with her. She was so nervous about her dress, her voice trailed off into worry, and the weight in the room shifted yet again. Hey, let us focus, Sarah interjected, her eyes darting to Lila with an understanding that conveyed shared female strength. What do you need us to do? Lila took a deep breath, steadying herself. I should get to her, she might be in trouble. The wedding is in just a few days. Let us go together, Daniel said, eyes brightening with a sudden sense of purpose. Let us not wait. If JC needs us, we'll be there. Emily squeezed Jake's hand tighter, her expression echoing a silent plea for him to recognize where this moment could lead. We can all go, she offered, her heart brimming with the hope of connection, the desire to move forward. Mark looked conflicted but nodded. Okay. Let us make sure she is safe. Yes. Let us move. Jake felt something shift in him. For too long he'd allowed fear and doubt to dominate his choices. This team forged together by uncertainty and chaos was suddenly transforming into a unit, a family, ready to tackle whatever storms lay ahead. Moments later, they found themselves spilling out of the boutique, a small army ready to fight against whatever fears awaited them. What once felt like a burden of chaos was morphing into a campaign of love, understanding and connection, not just for Lila and JC but for each one of them navigating their own histories. As they made their way to Lila's car, Jake locked eyes with Emily. In that fleeting moment, he felt the electric spark of their bond, forged by vulnerability. Today was not just about proposals and pasts but about victories, small victories gathered together. Like bricks building a stronger foundation. Remember, Sarah said, we're doing this together. Whatever comes, we face it as a family. Jake nodded, his heart swelled with unexpected pride. This was his family now, all of them. He felt the warmth of hope wash over him and illuminate his soul. Once in the car, they raced down the streets of their town, the heart-pounding excitement coursing through them. The chatter flowed easily among them, each shared story of hopes and dreams bubbling to the surface. Even as the challenges loomed in the background, they found solace and strength within shared laughter as the images of their pasts blurred into the skyline behind them. A sense of adventure filled the air. Together, they were breaking the chains of doubt, redefining what it meant to be family. When they finally pulled up to the small church where Lila's friend was, a wave of nervous energy surged through the group. But they ventured into the unknown together, like soldiers advancing towards a battle, hands clasped tighter than ever. Inside they found JC, her face streaked with tears yet still lit with determination. Seeing them there sparked a light deep within her, a glimmer of faith amid the chaos. JC. Lila rushed forward, enveloping her friend in a hug, a raw and genuine response filled with relief. I was just so scared, JC cried. What if I'm not ready? Together, Daniel chimed in. We'll help you through, I promise. Jake watched as the barriers fell and walls crumbled, laughter mingling with tears. In this solemn space they were forging a new path, a pathway strengthened by love and united by shared journeys. As the laughter swirled around him, Jake felt a gentle nudge to his heart, the realization that love was never just about a single moment, a grand gesture, or a polished wedding. It was rooted in the everyday choices, the moments of vulnerability, and the bravery to stand firm with each other. We're all in this together, Emily echoed softly, her voice cutting through the noise, wrapping around him like a warm hug. And in that moment Jake finally understood. The proposal, the past struggles, and the overwhelming doubts didn't define him. What defined him was the love in his heart, the community behind him, and the journey ahead. With every step toward the future, he cherished the weight of their shared dreams, a future that was not just about him, but about everyone entwined in their chaotic, beautiful lives. As they stepped back into the world, the stars twinkling above them, Jake felt a ripple of joy wash over him. He was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead because they had already faced the storm. And together they would always find a way to. Now's the time for you to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will take you on emotional journeys like this one. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these heartwarming tales alive. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. We want to know how it impacted you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of uplifting us through these actions.